On the night of August 24th, 1996, 14-year-old Caroline Glachan left her friends near a row of local shops in Bonhill, Scotland, expecting to be home before her mother returned. Instead, before dawn, she would be beaten and left in the River Leven. And for 27 years, the truth would hide behind a shared alibi, frightened witnesses, and a child's memory. This is the story of the River Leven murder. Before we carry on, remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Calendar of Crime. Caroline was 14. Lively, sociable, and remembered by friends as full of fun, cheek, and conversation. On the night of Saturday, August 24th, she had invited her best friend, Joanne Menzies, and 2 boys to a sleepover. Caroline's mother, Margaret McKeach, was out celebrating her 40th birthday. Caroline told Joanne she would be back before her mother returned and handed over her house keys. At about 1:45, Caroline was seen near the Ladyton shops in Bonhill. She did not go back to the sleepover. Instead, she set off to meet Robbie O'Brien at the Black Bridge over the River Leven. The relationship was troubling to those around her. O'Brien was 18, known to be violent, and was also in a relationship with 17-year-old Donna Marie Brand, who was pregnant at the time. Caroline's friends and family had seen enough to worry about him, but Caroline believed she was meeting someone she cared about. Across the river in Renton, Andrew Kelly was babysitting 2 young boys, Archie and Jamie Wilson. The official story later given by those connected to the flat was simple. The teenagers had spent the night indoors. It was an alibi that would survive police questioning, public appeals, and more than 2 decades of suspicion. Years later, investigators reconstructed a very different sequence. Around midnight, 4 teenagers left the flat with the 2 children, pushing a buggy and walking towards the River Leven. The group included Kelly, O'Brien, Brand, and Kelly's girlfriend, Sarah Jane O'Neill. The children were not supposed to be witnesses to anything, yet their presence would become central to the case. At approximately 12:30, people living near the river began hearing screams. A woman's voice cried out in a frightened, defensive tone. The sound carried through the darkness, but no one could see exactly what was happening. Then, roughly 40 minutes to an hour later, the group returned to the flat with the children. A neighbor heard shouting, sobbing, and words suggesting that something had gone too far. The children were repeatedly mentioned in the commotion. By the following afternoon, Caroline was missing, and her family's birthday gathering had turned into a search. At about 4:10 p.m., her body was found face down at the water's edge of the River Leven. Local people identified her by her trainers and blue chippy sweatshirt. The post-mortem examination showed at least 10 blows to her head and extensive skull fractures. The cause of death was head injuries and drowning. She may have entered the water alive, but unconscious. The investigation was enormous, but the evidence available to detectives was painfully limited. There was no useful digital trail, almost no valuable CCTV, no suspect DNA profile, and no murder weapon. A hooded figure reported near Caroline became the subject of an e-fit and repeated appeals, including an appearance on Crime Watch. But that image led investigators away from the people who mattered. The supposed male figure was later understood to have been a woman who gave evidence at trial. Suspicion nevertheless settled around O'Brien, Brand, Kelly, and O'Neill. Their names were known locally, and Caroline's friends had reasons to distrust O'Brien. But the group continued to maintain the same account. They had been at the flat. With no decisive forensic evidence and witnesses, living in an atmosphere of fear and instability, the case went cold. Caroline's family were left with grief, unanswered questions, and the knowledge that someone in the community might know what happened. In June 2019, Police Scotland's major investigation team reopened the case. The detectives began again, not with a new piece of technology, but with old-fashioned house-to-house work. They traced people who had lived in Allen Crescent in 1996, including residents who had been children at the time. That process led them to Linda Dorian, the upstairs neighbor. Dorian remembered waiting for a film to begin at midnight. Before it started, she heard a downstairs door open and saw 4 people leave with the 2 boys. Later, she heard the group return and heard a disturbance inside the flat. Her account did not solve the murder by itself, but it attacked the foundation of the alibi. The suspects could not have spent the entire night indoors if they had left together and returned later. The second breakthrough came from Archie Wilson. He was 4 years old in 1996, and the morning after the murder he woke unusually late. When his mother asked whether he had wet the carpet, Archie replied that Robbie had been wet. He also said he and Jamie had been taken down to the River Leven. Police first spoke to Archie soon after Caroline's body was found. After consultation with a child psychologist, a further interview took place in Belfast on September 26th. Archie said he had seen Caroline being attacked near the river and in the water. He said Robbie hit her with a stick and a pole, and that he closed his eyes when she was pushed into the river. Most strikingly, he described metal in her eye, a detail consistent with the injuries later recorded by the pathologist, even though Caroline's body had not yet been found when Archie first spoke to his mother. Archie was an adult by the time the case reached trial, and was considered unfit to give evidence in court. His recorded words were assessed alongside the testimony of Linda Dorian, the accounts of Caroline's friends, the medical evidence, and the collapse of the alibi. In November 2021, O'Brien, Kelly, and Brand were arrested. After a 2-week trial at the High Court in Glasgow, all three were found guilty in December 2023. The convictions could not return Caroline's stolen future, nor erase the years her mother and friends spent waiting for answers. Robert O'Brien and Andrew Kelly were sentenced to life imprisonment, with minimum terms of 22 and 18 years respectively. Donna Marie Brand was later sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 17 years. The case had taken 27 years to reach court, but the memory of Caroline had never left the people who loved her. On August 25th, the date Caroline's body was found, the River Leven became more than a location on a map. It became the center of a question that refused to disappear. What happened to a 14-year-old girl between the last moment her friend saw her and the moment the river gave her back? In the end, the answer came from details that had been overlooked: the neighbor who remembered a door opening, and the little boy who remembered a girl in the water. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.